Hi, welcome to the 2021 Post-Season Scallop Count in Taylor County. First, I would like to thank all the volunteers who sign up, the boat captains, volunteer snorkelers, and volunteer divers, and the support staff, all the support that we have received from local businesses, and all the people who, one way or another, have really helped the Nature Coast Biological Station, and Dr. Savannah Barry. Well, we're very excited to do this count this year, and we hope to make this an yearly activity and hope more people get involved every year. The objective of the activity is to collect data that we can share with the FWC Research Institute, the Scout specialists, so they can use the data to run their models to make a follow-up on the scallop population, especially the spawning population, and make sure that that spawning population will provide enough and healthy offsprings for next year scallop season. Let's remember that scallops a lifespan is about a year, a little bit longer. So pretty much the population has to renew every year. And that's why it's very important to have an estimate of the spawning population. So, with the help of Dr. Jennifer Graneman from FDC, we have select 60 sampling sites along the coast of the most important part of the coast of Taylor and north of Dixie County. Basically, we're targeting 50 sampling sites, and we added 10 more extra sampling sites in case some of these sites are too close to the coast and there's any problem because of the access or because the water clarity doesn't allow you to do the count, then you can move to this extra one. And also the methodology includes that each group or each team with a boat is going to be assigned at least 5 target sampling sites and one or a couple of extra sampling sites. Some of the sites can be just relatively shallow to the knee, 2 to 3 feet deep, and others are about 6, 7 feet deep. So we will have snorkelers or and we will have scuba divers helping with the count. Let's talk about the scallop count key. So for setting and deployment of the Transect line, first you have to navigate to the seagrass location within your assigned grid and stop your boat. The select location should be in an area of seagrass, and seagrass or other vegetation attached to the bottom may not be readily visible from the surface. So a quick check by a snorkeler to verify seagrass present might be necessary. Check the water depth with your sounder, or if not, you can use just a pole and measure the depth of the water. Remember, you need to go between your knees and 6 foot of depth for the shallow water. And then deeper than that, we will have the scuba divers to help with the count. So once we have the kit in the boat, the first thing that we need to do is to deploy the transect. You're going to have that in your bucket. So the first thing that you do is you take one part of the motor, one of the ends of the transect. You're going to deploy that, right? And then you start moving with your boat and deploying the transect, okay? So it's going to look like this until you reach the other end. You need to make sure there's not slack in the transect. So we are here, and we make sure that the weight is here. We have the floater right on the surface, and we're ready to start. We will use, as we work in teams, there are going to be 2 of us. One of the snorkelers or divers is going to go on one side of the transect. The other one is going to go on the other side of the transect. And we're going to count exactly what is within the range of this 1 meter pipe. All right?
So don't feel tempted to count the ones that are outside if you're just like 1 inch or a couple of inches away. They don't count. They have to be inside of the area that you are counting. So you will start here and go all the way on this side, and the other diver is going to be in the other side, right?
So as part of the setting up the transect, we will have these floats on the surface, a line that goes to the weight on the bottom, and then the transect lined over the seagrass. It is very important to remember that each of the divers have to go by the transect line and just count the scallops that are in the area covered by the PVC pipe or the 1 meter PVC stick that you're holding. If you are a lonely surveyor, you can count twice. So you can count in one way, swimming up on one side of the transect, and then do a second count on your way back on the other side of the transect, and just register all the counts as separate. The most important part of the scallop count is to properly fill the data sheet, which is pictured here. All right, so we're going to start by writing down the date, right, and the captain name and all other members, divers, snorkelers, support staff that might be there. So here you have 4 columns. In the top of each column, you have to write down the grid number or the grid ID. That's very, very important so we know which number is represented to that grid. You take note of the time, the latitude and longitude that is going to be provided in another sheet. The water depth when you start and the water depth when you end. Basically, it's very likely it's going to be the same depth. And then you write down here the diver 1 and diver 2, the length of the transect. In each case is going to be 25 meters in this case, okay? So you write down 25 in both of them. Once you start doing the count, you have to write down the number of scallops that each of the divers count. So we have for diver number 1 and for diver number 2. Okay, if it's only one diver, so only one data can be here. But if that diver counts the scallops on the way up on one side of the transect and then counts on the way back on the other side of the transect, he can write down both of the numbers here. Okay, that's very important to make sure is two different. Okay, then you, during the transect, you can randomly select 5 scallops and you will have a ruler in your slate so you can measure the height of the shell. Remember, the height of the shell is going to be measured from the hinge to this leading ventral margin here. So this is basically the size that we're going to measure, okay? That length or that height of the scallop. And it will be expressed in millimeters, all right? If you have any doubt, please ask the instructor during the briefing. Then you have to write down the seagrass types. There are going to be 3 different seagrass in the area: shoalgrass, turtle grass, and manatee grass. And here in the top, you have a hint of what letter you have to just go over depending of what you identify, right? It's not such a big deal. And the seagrass density, this is also an estimate. Okay, it doesn't have to be precise. Is what you feel is about 5% or 50%. Imagine like a square and how much of that area of the square is covered by the seagrass. And then you can take notes if there is macroalgae, is other types of plants or algae growing attached to the bottom, right? Just say if there is or not. And if there is, but not abundant, you don't circle abundant, just leave it blank. But if it's very abundant, then you circle abundant as it is here. The type of sediment, if it's sand, mud, rock, or just shell, you basically is going to be sand or a combination of sand and mud. Here in this row, we have horseshoe crab present, but if you see other species of marine life, which you think is important to note, like sea urchins, you can cross horseshoe crab and right here in the top, sea urchins, and write the number here, or not the number, but one, a couple, a few, many. Few is going to be less than 10 and many more than 10. And then you can write down at the bottom line any comment that you might have. So it is really important. This is the goal of the scallop count. Make sure to fill out all the data. And if you have any doubt, you will have a copy of this identification sheet in the boat and a copy of the coordinates with the latitude, longitude, and the grid number to write down on the top.